Hello, everyone, and welcome to OpenExO Live. It is really great to be with you this afternoon for me, or evening for you, perhaps, or maybe it's early morning. We have Zahira with us, who is coming live from Mumbai, and you can see there some awesome community members coming up in the next couple of weeks. And before we get Zahira up onto the screen, I did want to just share a few comments and from our community. I've just been distracted here by Suman just saying, "Go Zahira, rock the show." Thanks, Suman. Great to have you here. And so let me just share these few messages from some of our community members. And the first one comes from Jyoti. He just says, "I feel fortunate and blessed to have Zahira as my co-founder and partner at White Spaces over the past decade and more. She brings stability and solidity to our coaching and consulting practice with her strong sense of ownership for outcomes or closure, whilst embodying customer first. That's remarkable. What's remarkable about Zahira is her boundless bounce back ability through rough and high seas, navigating dependably through choppy, often shark-infested waters with nerves of steel. Zahira is courageous in surfacing difficult conversations, regularly calling out the elephant in the room, and then deftly steering towards a constructive way forward with desired outcomes. Lastly, and by no means least, Zahira has a heart of pure gold, overflowing with kindness and compassion, with additional dollops reserved for the underdog." We then have from Daya, "Zahira is a superwoman, always cheerful, always smiling, always giving full attention to things she does. May it be building exponential initiatives, running sprints, being a mother, or baking amazing cakes and breads. She is extremely talented, one of the smartest people I know, and a true role model." Next from Harold, "Probably the most exponentially minded woman in Asia, Zahira has a deep understanding of the customer's need and how empathy together with technology can make them thrive." Next, we have from Luca, "Zahira is an extremely competent professional, ExO coach, consultant, and trainer, and a wonderful human being. I had the privilege to work with Zahira during the Sprint Coach certification program, and I enjoyed so much working together. She has an unraveling passion for the ExO model, and she is always eager to learn, to listen, to ask questions, and to share knowledge with the team." And then lastly from Ian, "Zahira is first and foremost a people and leadership developer, including her own. On top of all, she never settles for just getting things in order. She also wants to know what it will work for everyone, that its benefits are maximized, that it can withstand pressure and challenges that are thrown at it, and that processes are put in place that can be continually improved using all the exponential tools, systems, thinking that are available. I can personally attest to her dynamic teamwork, drive, commitment, and being the best, and her natural leadership abilities under all circumstances. I would always want a person like Zahira in my leadership and working teams, as she brings a wealth of knowledge, curiousness, reflectivity, inventiveness, attention to detail, and an attractive and infectious climate of warmth, passion, and inclusiveness to all tasks." That was quite a mouthful. So with that, I would love to welcome Zahira up on screen. Zahira, how are you doing today? How is Mumbai?
Oh my goodness. Can you imagine, after listening to all of that, I can't stop grinning, Thank you so much, Kevin. That's quite a compilation. and quite a mouthful for you to read as well.
Absolutely, yeah. So
Oh my
yeah,
goodness.
it's
Yeah.
really great to have you. It's really great to see some folks on social media saying hi. So if you wherever you're watching this, of course, unless you're not watching it live, do say hi, write any questions or comments. We will be looking at those as we go on today. And so, Zahira, we always start by asking, tell us about yourself. Can you share with those who are watching a little bit about you? Where you come from, what you've done, and how you sort of came into the OpenExO community.
Yeah, sure. Um, so let me talk about myself. I'm a part of White Spaces Consulting, as you know, which is an organization and leadership advisory firm. We work with three kinds of clients. The first one is basically family managed, medium to large enterprises. Basically around the South Asian region, and mostly for some of them first gen, but increasingly these days second gen. We're working with a lot of second gen companies, right? Um, the second kind of companies that we work with is early stage, tech companies and tech driven companies, early stage funded, right? The third kind is that we work with a lot of, authorities in the Middle East, mostly the UAE region. So that's where we are now. We help clients with organization capacity building and leadership alignment, and really, I mean, we know that the two go totally hand in hand. You can't work on one and ignore the other. In fact, earlier in the day, we were in a conversation with another very big prospect, a huge company, and we were talking about how they want to bring in business process improvements and also improve the culture. And we were happy to hear that, because it's you need to work on both, right? Very often some people don't get that, and ultimately when you get into such interventions, you realize that the leadership doesn't understand it, or the leadership refuses to acknowledge, and true change can come only when the leadership is willing to listen, change, unlearn, and move forward. We have a saying, the fish rots from the head. And we've seen this, like I said, playing out in organizations, because it inadvertently leadership uh, is part of the problem. So we help companies to we basically show the mirror to the companies, and ask them to reflect, and then build in interventions for this. Now, in the context of organizations today, where do we come in? We come in the context of today and in the context of tomorrow. The context of today is basically we work on the hard and the soft. Now, what is the hard? The hard is basically helping them to improve business performance, right? And there we come in and help them put metrics in place, and we try to bring in this whole religion of rigorous reviews, which is very important, because if you don't you have to measure it, if you want it to get better. Otherwise, you don't know which way the needle is moving. So we help them to do that. With respect to the softer part, we basically come in and help organizations to have a more collaborative approach to problem solving, while taking into account their culture, their values, and of course the big one, the purpose. What drives them? What is the binding glue? So we help facilitate a lot of conversations around that, right? Um, Post adopting the EXO methodology, we at White Spaces are all in this whole space of, helping organizations to grab opportunities, looking into tomorrow, and helping them to build organizations, thinking scale and thinking big. So that's typically what we do at White Spaces Consulting. Your second part of the question was about my EXO journey, and that's some journey. So, my mentor and business partner, Jyoti, initially, kind of got introduced to this concept. Okay. And then he couldn't stop talking about it. Um, the conversations that followed from there on was just, exponential and abundance and 10x and oh my goodness, he just went on and on. At that point, I was very busy and immersed, in a business mastery course, and I had some exams coming up, and I didn't want to get distracted. And in my head, I was like, oh, this is just another fad, it'll pass. But it did not. So I said, okay, there must be something to it, because and by then he had completed the ExO Consultant course. So I said, okay, we need some common ground to talk about, because when you go to market, you have to be on the same page. So I went back, I read the book, and then I immersed myself in the ExO platform. I saw to myself that all of this bloody makes sense. Then I got enrolled in the ExO Foundations course. So I started with that. And then again, of course, following that, our conversations went even deeper and cantered around, how can we bring ExO to market here in India? How can we serve our clients better? So then I went on and did my ExO trainer and ExO consultant course, right? And I started beginning seeing value. I saw already the difference it was making to me in the kind of conversations I was now having with our prospects and with our clients, right? They say that, what you read about and what you speak about and what you think about is somewhere influencing you. And I saw that beginning to happen with me, right? So that happened, and I got busy with, with life and clients and all of that. Then Jyoti landed the big sprint in India, right? The 1 billion textile major, which is, we've talked about it a lot in the OpenExO platform. And then, just watching our dream team in action, Suman, Dia, Diego, Trent, Deepak, and then also working in the look at Deepak's synchronicity. Talking. And then, Payal and myself, Payal has also completed a ExO consultant course, and she's, very enterprising and all of that. So both of us were helping at the back end. As we got deeper into the platform and, interacting with the ExO community, I thought, oh my God, this is really like becoming like an addiction. I need to get deeper into it. So, and that's when I got into ExO Coach, right? So ExO Coach happened, and then there was no looking back. It's been a beautiful journey, and I tell you, I must thank my wonderful teachers, Yaroslav and Dia, for just the whole the teaching methodology, the reflective thinking, not dumbing down, totally, being mindful of where you come from. Amazing. I mean, I've enjoyed having them as my teachers. And I can't forget Anastasia and Javier, just helping at the back end. Anytime, anything, the turnaround time, oh my goodness, amazing. It's been very interesting working with them. So,
awesome.
And a shout out to my cohort, all of my cohorts, be it the trainer, be it the consultant, be it the ExO coach, and you have some of them as talking out there as testimonials. So I've had a wonderful time.
Awesome. And awesome. Zahira, I mean, it's really great to hear that, and hopefully the team are watching this and will definitely share that with them. We often speak about how perhaps once you join the community, and a lot of people might say we've drunk some Kool-Aid, and we speaking about these things, we're a little bit crazy. Many times people are saying, is this really an option that we're going to have an abundant future? And we truly believe it is, right? And I think one thing that's so important, of course, is the fact that we have a massive transformative purpose about transforming the world for a better future, and the ExO model itself really has at the core their purpose. And I love to always find out from the people who I chat to on OpenExO Live about that, about the MTP that's inspiring you to really do what you do. And so would you like to share what that is?
Yeah, of course. So my MTP, it keeps evolving, right? Um, at this present age and stage, it's all about inspiring and supporting leaders and organizations to co-elevate. What do I mean by that? It's basically leaders elevating themselves as they embark on a journey to scale, and at the same time elevating their organization sustainably.
Mm.
Yeah. So this whole journey of co-elevation. In fact, Simon Sinek, as you know, has popularized this with this whole start with your why,
With
right? I
why?
mean, this whole thing of yeah. But even before that, like I remember years ago reading this book, Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl, who was
Mm.
in the Nazi concentration camp. And so I think he brings out the essence of it. And at that point, it was so poignant and it touched me that it is so true, right? It's only, I mean, unless you're driven by something and a passion beyond yourself, and he quotes Friedrich Nietzsche in his book, where he says that, if you have the will, you can survive anyhow. And that's really how some of the people, managed to get out of of that concentration camp. Yeah. So the MTP. Let me tell you a story about my MTP, right? The whole
Mm.
co-elevate thing. Uh, so this is a pre-COVID story when I went to the Yosemite National Park in California. Um, so I was fascinated to see the sequoia trees. Like I've been reading about them and seen pictures, and I wanted to see them up front and personal, and I did. And I was blown. Over 250 height, almost taller than my 25-story building where I live. 25 feet wide, yeah, huge trunk. And I had read that they're over like 2,000 years old and stuff like that. um, I mean, I was awestruck. And just as I, stood there gazing at the white tree, the park ranger comes and asks me. He says, "Do you know how deep is the root system?" So I said, "Oh, that's easy. It must be having a very deep taproot system because it's so. I mean, intuitively, you go with that."
Mm.
Uh, he said, "No." He said these roots go just about 6 to 10 feet deep, right? It's that shallow. Uh, Yet, he says, it can withstand tough storms and flooding and earthquakes and strong winds. Um, I was like, wow, how does that happen? And then he revealed the underground secret, of the forest. So what he says is the sequoia trees, in the roots of the sequoia tree, they go outward in search of the other roots of the other neighboring sequoia trees, and they reach out and they form a strong bond. They kind of intertwine with each other and they form a
Mm.
permanent bond. And that is really the secret, right? It's basically how they hold themselves together, hold on to each other, and looking out for each other, looking out for themselves and for each other.
Yes.
And so that's co-elevate.
Yeah.
Simply put, in giving, we receive.
Absolutely. I mean, that's really inspiring, and it's always nice to be able to have some sort of story that you can share like that. And I mean,
Yeah.
co-elevating, of course, is something that is quite core to the EXO methodology, right? And even if we look at a process like the sprint process, yes, there's a little bit of competition in that there are teams, working on their own initiatives. But what you often find is how at the end, a lot of those initiatives can actually push each other together, work together and combine. I know that you've run, been a part of the sprint that was run in India. Are there any sort of lessons that you took from that? And also, before we came live, you were speaking a little bit about about some potential clients, etc., and what you're doing. So it'd be great if you could share about that for those people out there saying, what is it that's so good about these sprints that these people are talking about?
Yeah, sure. So I'll come to the client, the potential, the prospect, soon to be client in a bit. But coming back to lessons learned from the sprint, Many lessons, Kevin. I think we did a lot of things right, and a lot of things that we could be better at in our next sprint. Let me talk about a few here which might help potential sprints coming up. The first one is about sprinter selection. I think companies that are going in for sprint should ensure that it's not people don't feel a sense of entitlement, right? It has to be earned. So basically having a rigor of getting the best people on board, right? Following a process, making it coveted, making it aspirational. uh, that's important, because this also then buys, locks them in to invest their time, because this attention is a scarce commodity. So how do you get them to lock that time, right? So the first thing is sprinter selection. The second thing is forming sprint teams. Now, what we followed the Patrick Lencioni model, right? Which is called, his model is called the widget tool. So basically what it helps is, it helps you um, to form a team which is well balanced in terms of ideation, in terms of enablement, and in terms of implementation. So applying this tool helped to get people of the civil. We applied it a little later into the process, but I think if we had applied it a bit earlier, we could have got the right composition of the teams, right? So that's the second one. The third one is basically, so the third one is to do regular check-ins with the senior management. At the, when you're at the stage of sharing and disrupt, again testing and at launch stage. So basically doing a check-in with the senior management. Why are we doing this? To basically do a mood check, and to also break into the immune system, to see to it that you're carrying people along. You don't want any surprises, right? So basically that's important. That's very important. Another thing that we realize is very important is to have EXO ambassadors within the system. So you create so much of buzz in the system beyond the teams undergoing the sprint, that you create a buzz so that people feel FOMO, right? People feel, oh my God, I want to be part of this. It's something big. These guys are up to something. Yeah. So that's another one. When the sprint finally happens, and you have post-sprint initiatives coming up, I think it's important to have very robust tracking measures for the initiatives, right? Because you don't want this ending up like what they say as an innovation theater.
Yes.
You want to see that this sprint, the initiatives born out of this sprint, really go on to become something big, right? So having those tracking mechanisms in place, which means even taking them away from the mothership into an incubator if need be, while retaining the umbilical cord to the mothership, right? So that you can leverage the brand strength and the network and whatever else the core brand can give you.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so that's important.
And ultimately, so important that those people who come up with the initiative can continue that initiative. What we've seen in some sprints, unfortunately, is where people move back to their job, and their amazing initiative, someone who didn't have the foresight, the passion, all the ideas, try to continue it on, which can be an issue. But sorry, I jumped in there. Please do continue.
Yeah. No, you're actually leading me to my next point of, get them to put skin in the game. So what's in it for the sprinters to be, you said it, what's in it for them, right? They're leaving their jobs, they're leaving the secure jobs to do this. What is the path forward? So lay it out for them. It might be equity, it might be, they could possibly, the business could become so big that arises out of this initiative that they could have the potential to be the CEO leading that, right? So stuff like that. I mean, these are some things I think that are very critical and important. What we did well was also expose them to a lot of master classes. We had Alina, people from the EXO community, who basically, helped widen their thinking and gave them deeper perspective into what they were doing. So I think, all of these things. Yeah. I think I've covered the main points.
Awesome. And
Yeah.
so before we were speaking, you were saying that with a potential sprint client, you've been working with them to build up those ambassadors, essentially, like you just spoke about, right?
Yeah.
People
Yeah.
who are fired up for EXO. Can you just share a little bit about what you're doing there?
Yeah. So so in our experience, we've seen that leadership can have the best intent, right? The analogy is seeds grow in fertile soil. So how do we ensure that the soil is fertile in the companies that we're going to do the future sprint in, right?
Yes.
So another lesson learned from this sprint is to seed that thought, and this is going beyond the awake. We any which ways will do the awake as part of the process, but what we kept thinking, what more can we do? So we came across this Growth Institute in partnership with ExO has come up with this whole mini sprint course.
Yes.
We thought it would be fantastic to take out five five bright minds from the prospect client that we had, and immerse them through this mini sprint process, so that they then go on and they understand the process and they ingrain it and they get so immersed in it that they then become our ambassadors internally in their company.
Yes.
Right. And not only that, and Kent is leading that and is doing a good job of getting the whole thing together. So that's happening. And what happens therefore? One is the EXO ambassadors, and the second thing is that these chosen five then go on and become the sponsors of the sprint teams, and also become contributing members of the teams as well. So yeah. In fact, today, as soon as I finish this call, I'm hopping onto a call with a Q&A with Salim Ismail as part of the cohort. The whole cohort is going through a group Q&A with Salim. Yeah.
That's
going
really
back.
awesome. Really, really awesome to hear, and going to be excited to see how that outcome comes about, and really, really looking forward to that. Our time has pretty much run to an end, and I always love to end off the call just with, what is that one thing you'd like to share with folks as we say goodbye today?
No, one thing. I'll say three things, if you allow.
Yes,
okay.
Sure.
Okay. So, I think it's so important to get into this whole space of collaborating rather than competing, right? And even at White Spaces, we follow a lot of Adam Kahane's work on competing. Collaborating with the enemy. So, because there's so much, like I mentioned to you before this, that we're getting into some exploratory call with local motors. So we're doing a lot of things. We're tying up, getting into partnerships with a lot of people who are better than us, ahead of the journey, and where digital transformation is happening, or where there's technology, high tech places, or even this whole these things, basically collaborating with people who are better than us, so that they grow and we grow, and again co-elevate. That's the whole thing. The second thing that I want to talk about is it's so important to be driven by a passion and purpose which is beyond you, because there's a different glow on your face, right, when you're doing stuff driven by a purpose. The third thing that I want to give to the community is that being human at work works.
Absolutely, 100%. Zahira, it's been wonderful chatting to you. I look forward to hearing more about how things go with the sprints. I'm also really excited about. I think it's a great time for the community in India. There just seems to be so much buzz coming out of different places, and really, really excited about that. Enjoy the time with the masterclass, and we'll chat to you again soon.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Sure. Bye-bye. So great chatting to Zahira. and so important that, remember, we are all human, and being human is really what works. We're going to end off today just with a short video about the next book that's coming out. So if you haven't got your copy yet, if you haven't pre-ordered, you can do that today.